Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, shills, dead slaves, serfs, peasants, vassals, minions, meat sacks, potheads, coke fiends. I'm Useful Idiot. Welcome. And today let's go to the USA, get a little historical, a little overview about presidents and booze and drugs. And I kind of got spurred to do this because I was kind of curious because I saw a video clip recently, and it was one of Bill Clinton's and Hillary Clinton's old friends. And she talks about spending a lot of time with them back in the day. And she mentions the fact that Bill Clinton used to do a lot of cocaine. And the way she describes it, including the little cosmetic pack of cocaine tools, makes me believe that there's no way in hell she made this up. And that indeed Bill Clinton had spent a lot of time snorting coke off her coffee table using one of those classic little cocaine kits that anyone that's ever spent any time around cocaine knows very well. And of course, it goes hand in hand with the ridiculous story that Bill Clinton used to tell about trying pot back when he was in college and not inhaling, which is, of course, one of the most ridiculous things ever said. And it's even one of the most ridiculous things he's ever said, in spite of all the ridiculous things that he ever said. But so anyway, I wanted to go back and kind of look at the history of drug and alcohol abuse by presidents, because thought it would be kind of interesting, and it was. As it turns out, actually most presidents are very light smokers and very light drinkers. In fact, we've got a lot of teetotalers, and particularly during Prohibition, as you would imagine. But an interesting lineup, and it goes all the way back to the beginning, and debunks some things that we've heard before about Washington and Jefferson growing hemp on their property and smoking pot. Actually, hemp was very popular then, a miracle plant that could produce all sorts of things, including the sails of the ships of the Revolutionary Army, as well as the paper that the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution are printed on. And but there is talk that perhaps there was some opium use or laudanum use for pain purposes and things like that. And of course, we also have to take into consideration that a lot of this stuff was not illegal back then. But so anyway, apparently the stories of their drug use are a little exaggerated. And like I say, then you go through the history and you find out that most presidents are pretty clean. But the ones that aren't are fascinating in their own right. We start off with Martin Van Buren, who went into office in 1837. Apparently he was a drunk. Franklin Pierce, who was elected president in 1853. Apparently he was a drunk too. In fact, when he was out of office, he said that, quote, "there is nothing left but to get drunk," unquote. So, yeah, he was a drunk. And then James Buchanan became president in 1857. Apparently he was a drunk. And then Andrew Johnson, who became president in 1865, was notorious for being drunk at his own presidential inauguration. As it turns out, actually, he was not a big drinker. They theorized that he just was not used to alcohol, drank some to relax, and ended up getting drunk before they officially made him president. Somehow it just seems like poetic justice. Then, of course, Ulysses S. Grant was a notorious drinker. So he was a drunk, and he was also a heavy smoker. Reportedly smoked about 20 cigars a day and eventually died of throat cancer. Then we have Chester A. Arthur, elected in 1881. He was a drunk. Then Grover Cleveland, who was elected in 1885, was possibly a drunk. He liked to drink beer all day long. And but where it really gets interesting is in modern times. So you look at all these presidents I brought up. So I brought up, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of them that were clearly alcoholics. So that certainly leaves plenty of U.S. presidents who are good, clean, and sober presidents. But then it gets interesting when we get to John F. Kennedy. As it turns out, he was probably doing cocaine, LSD, and marijuana. One of the reasons why we know this is because he was had an affair with a woman named Mary Pinchot Meyer, and she was a friend of Timothy Leary. And there's quite a bit of documentation with her and her liaisons with John F. Kennedy, and doing LSD and smoking marijuana. And it was Kennedy himself that mentioned to her one time that he could get her some cocaine. Once again, I stress that all these things that John F. Kennedy apparently was doing were not illegal. But the best part about it, of course, is that apparently he was doing cocaine, LSD, and marijuana, possibly in the White House. And so there you go, John F. Kennedy. What a wild man. And I also should note that Mary Pinchot Meyer was allegedly murdered in 1964, and it might have had something to do with the total Kennedy cover-up, because she realized that there was nefarious powers in play and that she could end up as a target. So it wasn't necessarily associated with the drug use. And then we get to George W. Bush, who apparently was a drunk when he was younger and also liked to use cocaine. And there's even rumors that his own brother, Jeb Bush, was a cocaine dealer, but there is no evidence to suggest that he was doing drugs or alcohol in his later years, although there are rumors that he started drinking again while he was in the White House. And considering all the things that were going on there, nobody should be surprised. And of course, our present president, Barack Obama, notably used a lot of cocaine and a lot of marijuana when he was young. And even there's lots of documentation about his party van in Hawaii called the Choom Wagon, which apparently had billows of smoke rising out of it, like something out of an 80s teen movie. But anyway, Barack Obama apparently is not that much of a drinker, but now that he's president, of course, he can do whatever he wants, so who knows. But there you have it, a little overview of presidents and their alcohol use and their drug use. And turns out we've gotten off pretty easy. There hasn't been that many drug addicts and booze hounds in the White House, but we're kind of making up for it in the last 40 or 50 years. So let's see who's next. Well, of course, if Donald Trump becomes president, that'll be interesting because he doesn't drink or smoke or do drugs and never has. Hillary, on the other hand, who knows what kind of elixir she has to take to contain that evil. I'm a useful idiot, don't you be one too.